American Airlines flight from London to Philadelphia diverted to Dublin after two crew members and a passenger suddenly fell ill. You can hear the pilots radioing in.
Tonight, dramatic audio from inside an American Airlines flight moments after two crew members and a passenger were briefly incapacitated.
The cabin staff have actually lost consciousness. I think they're back to a state of consciousness now.
A pilot flying from London to Philadelphia radioing in from over the Atlantic, saying a cleaning product containing ammonium chloride has spilled, the fumes too much for some.
There are general complaints about burning eyes and other problems with mucus in the nose, skin problems.
The flight with 287 passengers and 12 crew members diverting to Dublin, Ireland because of that strong odor. When the plane landed, the three sickened were transported to the hospital.
Every airplane recirculates its air completely every 2 minutes, so the possibility of this affecting people nearby was quite low.
The presence of American troops in Afghanistan has long been a controversial issue. On Monday, Secretary of Defense Mark Esper and the top U.S. general in Afghanistan told a news conference in Kabul the Pentagon has been quietly reducing its troop numbers.
Over the last year, at least 2,000, we've reduced our authorized strength by 2,000 here. So there's a constant look as a military commander to optimize the force here. And what it's based on is you understand the risks to the force, risks to the mission, and look at it in terms of capabilities.
Esper tried to reassure allies by saying the move doesn't mean the U.S. is backing away from its commitment to finding a political solution to decades of war.
A negotiated political settlement among Afghans is the best path to achieving this outcome. Until that is accomplished, we will continue to pursue an aggressive military campaign against the Taliban and terrorist groups that continue to conduct violence against the people of Afghanistan.
For Justin Trudeau, it definitely could have been worse.
Merci. Merci, mes amis.
Before the campaign, polls showed growing public mistrust with a man who won a resounding majority just 4 years earlier. Then photographs emerged that showed him wearing racist blackface makeup as a young man, adding to earlier scandals about ethics and accusations of broken promises. In the end, though, Canadians gave him another chance.
Tonight, Canadians rejected division and negativity. They rejected cuts and austerity, and they voted in favor of a progressive agenda and strong action on climate change.
The result is disappointing for the Conservative opposition leader, Andrew Scheer, who had been steadily improving his standing with the voters before the campaign.
The Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah marks the end of the annual cycle of Torah readings and the beginning of a new cycle. It's a time of celebration, but for Benjamin Netanyahu, it was anything but a celebration Monday night in Jerusalem. That's because he failed once again to form a coalition government, putting his political career in jeopardy and posing the real possibility of being indicted on criminal charges once he's out of office. Netanyahu posted this video message on Twitter late Monday, essentially blaming his political rival Benny Gantz for refusing his offers to form a unity government, in which both Netanyahu's right-wing Likud party and Gantz's more centrist blue and white party would share responsibilities in running the country.
During the past few weeks, I made every effort to bring Blue and White Party leader Benny Gantz to the negotiating table. Every effort to establish a broad national unity government. Every effort to prevent another election. To my regret, time after time he declined. He simply refused.
A convicted paedophile rubbing shoulders with Donald Trump, ogling women at a party. A new documentary has detailed Jeffrey Epstein's relationships with the rich and the famous, including 12 years of friendship with Prince Andrew.
If the TVs were on at Buckingham Palace, the doco would have made uncomfortable viewing. It forensically detailed Prince Andrew's 12-year friendship with convicted paedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. It was Epstein who introduced Andrew to 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre. Shortly after this photo, she alleges they had sex. Later that year, the prince left the Navy. The doco claims later that year, Andrew met Giuffre again, this time on Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, where Andrew took part in an orgy.
Epstein, Andy, approximately 8 other young girls and I had sex together.
Andrew and Epstein were first photographed together at Donald Trump's Florida mansion, Mar-a-Lago.
A student was screaming racial slurs at a security guard, but it was the guard who got fired. So everyone there at Madison West High School in Wisconsin was outraged about this. It prompted students you see here, along with teachers, to walk out on Friday. They are demanding that Marlon Anderson get his job back. Anderson saying he did nothing wrong.
In the context in which I used the word, I was trying to correct a behavior, correct a mentality. If a young man is walking through the hallways or walking through life or walking through the streets with the mentality that I'm a N-word, he needs to be told you are so much more than a word that was given to you to oppress you.
So let me just break down exactly what happened. Anderson says the incident was when the assistant principal asked him to escort the student off campus. Well, the student then started yelling these expletives at him, including the N-word. And at first, Anderson says that he just asked him to stop calling him that without saying the word. But when the student continued to call him different variations of it, Anderson says he finally responded, "Don't call me the N-word."
Storming into ballot storage sites and setting votes on fire. Thousands of protesters in Bolivia have lost faith in the country's electoral process, accusing President Evo Morales and his allies of fraud. In La Paz, the incumbent supporters and critics faced off in the streets. Sunday's partial results indicated that Morales may have to face rival Carlos Mesa in a runoff. But when Bolivia's Electoral Commission resumed the transmission of results on Monday, the scores had evolved, raising suspicions. Earlier in the day, Morales supporters held counter-protests, clashing with opponents. They say the difference can be explained by the rural vote. Bolivia's presidential candidates need an outright majority or a 10% margin of victory to avoid a runoff vote. Morales is already under scrutiny as he controversially seeks a fourth term in office, despite the constitution limiting power to 2 consecutive mandates.
Now, Emperor Naruhito's reign actually began in May when his father, Emperor Akihito, abdicated. In his speech today, as he was enthroned, the new emperor promised to fulfill his role according to Japan's constitution. But the constitution is something his prime minister, Shinzo Abe, has long sought to change.
Before some 2,000 foreign dignitaries around the world, including the UK's Prince Charles and Japanese officials, the 59-year-old emperor's ascension was formalized at the Imperial Palace, accompanied on the throne by Empress Masako. Dressed in a dark orange robe, worn only by emperors on special occasions, he took his seat on the so-called chrysanthemum throne to cheers from his courtiers and guests. In his speech, he said that he'll always wish for welfare of his country and world peace, that he'll act according to Japan's constitution and will fulfill his duties as a symbol of the country. The emperor's remarks could be contrasted with those of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who is pushing to amend Japan's constitution, which was drafted by the U.S. after World War II.
Today, 4 more parents embroiled in that college admissions scandal now changing their pleas to guilty, including Manuel and Elizabeth Henriquez, who prosecutors say gloated with their daughter about getting away with cheating on her college entrance test. 19 of 35 parents have pleaded guilty, including Felicity Huffman, who was spotted over the weekend outside federal prison in her inmate jumpsuit, walking to meet her daughter and husband, William H. Macy, for a visit, more than halfway through her 2-week sentence for paying $15,000 to boost her daughter's SAT scores. Lori Loughlin and her husband are still fighting charges. They paid $500,000 to pose their daughters as rowing recruits for USC. The prosecutor saying Loughlin would serve less time if she reached a deal.
If it's after trial, I think certainly we'd be asking for something substantially higher. If she resolved her case short of trial, something a little lower than that.
And federal prosecutors are saying that additional charges are possible for those who opt against the plea bargain.
In 18 years, 22 Australian children have been killed by toppling furniture. Now, one of our largest retailers is taking action.
Kids doing what kids do, but then the furniture overbalances and topples on top of them. An instant catastrophe. These two were lucky. Others are not.
Nobody deserves to get injured or hurt or even killed in their home. It should be the safest place.
So IKEA's linked with KidSafe to make our homes safer. Softer edges, more padding, button eyes on soft toys gone to stop choking. After road accidents, the family home's the most likely place for injury. 1 in 3 say their children have been hurt by hazards around the house. Falling furniture is among the most lethal.
More than 2,600 incidents are due to actually toppling furniture and television sets.
You can open one, and look at that, you can't open another one.
Simple but safe, and IKEA is giving away fasteners for free to attach its furniture to the wall